Hi Year 6, this is your science lesson for Monday, and we are now thinking about the water cycle. So we started off by revising water changing state, thinking about how water can exist in 3 different states, as a solid, a liquid or a gas, and when it's changing between the states I asked you to think about real life examples of evaporation, which is a key part of the water cycle. Now there's actually 4 different parts of the water cycle, and this is how water changes state and moves around on our planet. So what is the water cycle? It's the name we give to describe the way that water moves throughout planet Earth. The water cycle has got 2 other names, the hydrological cycle and the H2O cycle that you may hear, but usually we call it the water cycle. How does water move in a cycle? Well, it's got 4 main parts, as I said, the steps that the water goes through, and the 4 main processes are evaporation, condensation, precipitation and accumulation. So let's have a look at those. They're all 4 very, very long words. Let's have a look at those in some detail. So evaporation was the one I asked you to think about last week, when bodies of water like lakes, rivers and oceans heat up. When the water becomes hot, it forms vapour that then goes into the air. So you thought of some examples for me in real life of water evaporating. So water changing from its liquid state into its gas state of water vapour. It looks sometimes like it's disappearing, but it's not. And things like puddles evaporating, boiling water, clothes drying. Those are examples in real life. You'll see it yourself, if you leave out a saucer of water or a cup of water, it will eventually evaporate, especially in warm weather. Condensation is actually the opposite. That is when we see the water vapour in the air changing back into a liquid. And that's when the air gets cold, or the water vapour in the air gets cold, transforms back into a liquid. Actually, that's what you see when you're looking up at the clouds, just droplets of water. Precipitation is the very sort of tricky word for rain, and that's when the water that went up into the sky actually gets released. Depending on the temperature, it can either come down as a liquid or as a solid. So when it rains, the water's coming down as a liquid, and of course when we get snow, which we might get this month or next, it's when the water comes down as a solid. But this is actually the water vapour changing, the gas state of the water changing back into a liquid state and falling as rain. And then the other part we have is called accumulation, where the water collects in one place and forms a body of water, like a river or a lake. What do you think might happen after that water accumulates? Have a little think. And of course, the next step in the process of the water cycle is it evaporates again. So you can see how the water keeps on changing state, depending on where it is in the water cycle, depending on different things that are happening around, such as temperature, how warm the weather is, how cold the weather is, affects the state that water will be in. So I'd like you to have a really good research of the water cycle. I'll put some links in the description on this video. I'd like you to have some really good research. I'm going to put some links to some videos that you can watch about the water cycle. This here shows you, it's got a mountain, which of course is our topic, that's critical. Shows you how water can collect on a mountain, and then it can run down the mountain as a tiny stream, and then turn into a larger river, and then flow into a bigger body of water. Of course the sun is critical, then it may evaporate again, turn back into water vapour in the clouds. So watch the videos on the water cycle, and then you're going to have a go at drawing the water cycle yourself. Oh, fun facts. The water that you drink every day, believe it or not, is the same water that has been around since the Jurassic period. So it's essential that we save water and we don't waste water. The sun is completely necessary in the water cycle. No sun means no evaporation. And actually only 2.5% of the world's water is fresh water. Have a think what the rest of the water is on our planet. So, Year 6, what I'd like you to do in your books is I would like you to have a go at drawing the water cycle. and see if you can label the water cycle. This is one that's been drawn. I bet you can draw a much better one. This will be after you've watched the videos that I've put in the link and maybe had a go at singing the water cycle song. So, different things that you could label on your drawing. So you could label the sun. Very important that you're labelling things. What do you think is happening here? The water's coming off a big body of water here. It's moving up as water vapour. This must be evaporation here. Make sure that you include that. Here we can see actually the water's falling again as rain. So this must be precipitation over here. Tricky spellings. And see if you can label all the different parts. The different things I could label: rivers and streams, precipitation, runoff, underground water, the sea, wind, sun, evaporation, and of course condensation. So this is the opposite of evaporation, where actually the water is changing from a gas back into a liquid again. These are tricky processes. So as well as drawing a diagram, I would like you to try and explain to me what is evaporation, what is condensation, and what is precipitation. Watch the videos to help you. Good luck, Year 6.